wanting a person like Trump. And there are more and more places around the world where we're seeing something like that. Proto-authoritarian potential dictators in a number of these states. Some of them hiding a little bit more, some of them hiding it a little bit less. Some of the rhetoric is a little bit more violent and bloodthirsty than here in the United States. In other states, particularly in Europe, theoretically, they're not as bloodthirsty. But you also see a lot of the same issues cropping up, and I don't think that that's a coincidence either. If you go back and study the rise of fascism, you study some of the hallmarks of fascism, there are definitely through lines. Even in countries that have very different histories, very different political cultures, they crop up for a reason. And they're not the cause of the turn against democracy, but they can be a symptom of it. And look, I don't have a solution necessarily other than, vague stuff like, hey, maybe the Democrats should start to actually deliver for the people. Maybe if they demonstrate to regular people that the government hears them and it can actually solve problems, maybe some people will have a little bit more faith in our government, and maybe they'll start to generate a little bit more faith in institutions more broadly. Maybe that's a solution here in the United States, and it might not work everywhere, but clearly simply going along on the trajectory we're on, it's not working for a lot of people, and not just here in America. By the way, just really fast before we move on, and I apologize, can we go to graphic 4? Because again, this story is not fundamentally about America. That said, more and more Americans are saying that violence might be necessary to save the country. They don't say for who. I think we all know who they mean. And I also just want to show this. We didn't get to this story or whatever. This is from 2 days ago. Many Americans who recently bought guns open to political violence, survey finds. And I just think that's the greatest headline. Oh, what a time we live in. But anyway, again, don't have a solution, but it's something that we definitely need to grapple with as individuals, certainly as a country, and perhaps as a species. And that said, why don't we move on to our final story with the few minutes that we have remaining? It's something we've been meaning to get to for a couple days. That sidebar, that'll always get me. A pastor in Florida, of all places, is freaking out about Autism Awareness Week and finds autism to be both rude to Jesus, what is happening next to me, and demonic. So he plans to cancel it, or at least he wants to be a part of canceling it. So he sent out this email to parents and staff explaining why he was canceling Autism Awareness Week, which included 2 Bible verses. And we're gonna try to get through this, hopefully without losing our GD minds. He says the word Christian means like Christ, and it was given to the followers of Christ because they acted just like Jesus. Remember those bracelets from the 2000s that asked, what would Jesus do? If Jesus Christ led Trinity, that's the church that he's with, would he have an Autism Awareness Week? Of course not. Why? Because anything that exalts itself above the name of Christ should be brought down. Also, anything that teaches our children to have their identity in anything other than Christ is idolatry and demonic. Let me repeat myself just so I am not quoted out of context. Oh, don't worry, buddy. I'm perfectly comfortable quoting you fully in context. Any philosophy, teaching, or program that teaches our precious children that their identity is found in anything other than Christ is idolatry and demonic, period. The world, in its rejection and hatred of Christ, often devises programs such as autism awareness and cultural figures like the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus to get the benefits of his teachings, compassion, kindness, feeling love, and self-worth, without acknowledging Jesus as the ultimate authority and the source of all life. These initiatives imply that Jesus alone is insufficient, and we fail to recognize just how deeply they have permeated into our daily lives as Christians. As a result, we have a form of godliness, but deny its power. First of all, I think that people have been advocating for compassion, kindness, feeling love, and self-worth long before Jesus in cultures that never had any interest in Jesus. That's not a thing that's specific to Christianity. Sometimes for some Christians, it can actually be an impediment to those values. But let's focus on the autism awareness thing. The idea that this is bringing them above God, I don't think that's what's happening. But I want to focus on the identity thing because he's saying you should not found your identity in anything other than being Christian. And I don't know this guy, to be fair. Maybe he's great, although all of the evidence before me implies that that's not the case. Do you think that he's utterly uninterested in all identities? Do you think that, being straight, it's not an important identity? Being cis, not even worth bringing up. Being white, not even worth a mention. I don't know. I kind of feel like it's just certain identities that are identity politics, and then there's other identities that are just the thing that make me superior. That would be my view. In the meantime, I would say if you're a parent at Trinity, if you perhaps are a parent of a child with autism, does it seem like this person has your best interest at heart? Does it seem like naturally this is the direction, nationally, I should say, that this is the direction we should go in? Autism Awareness Week and all awareness weeks are not about elevating people above anyone else. They are literally a response to the fact that all too often many groups go utterly undiscussed, unassisted, unconsidered. And it's supposed to be a solution for that. Stamping that out is not reminding them of how they need to found their identity in Christ. It's making it harder for understanding to spread. And in many areas, not limited to autism, we could use a hell of a lot more of it as a country. Pardon my language, I apologize. In any event, some parents have responded to it. You can find the articles. We are unfortunately out of time, but I want to thank everyone for watching live on the program today. Coming up tomorrow, we do of course still have Brett Ehrlich. We're gonna be throwing away our garbage people of the week, which means you have a bit of a chore ahead of you. You need to head over to the community tab at youtube.com/thedamage report and vote for your community garbage person of the week. For now though, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.
welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richey, good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day with me, we have Jordan Uhl, Rebel HQ contributor superstar, who will be joining us momentarily. First story of the day. National Civil and Human Rights Organization, they have called for a national boycott of Denny's. Hashtag boycott Denny's. Let's do it this way. If you recall the initial incident that sparked this, here it is.
So, to make the situation more calm, because we do have a lot of people here, it would just be nice if you guys could leave, but I can't wait on you guys. I have no idea. I'm not in the situation, but she, just to make it more calm, she said, you guys can calmly leave because we do have a lot of people around, or the police will be on the way, because they are. Can we talk outside real quick?
Yo, record this. I am.
Can we talk outside real quick?
Just outside here. It's crazy. They're refusing to serve us.
They were refused service, according to the gentlemen, who are truckers, by the way. They simply were looking to eat, nothing more. And then something else happens. We do speak with these two gentlemen, great people. Here it is.
And he goes, excuse me, we're ready to place our order. And she goes, I don't like you yelling at me. He didn't yell. He wasn't rude. Nobody was out of the ordinary. And then he goes, I just wanted to say we're ready to place our order. And then she goes, well, I don't need you people calling me over to this table like that. Then after that, he said, but I saw that you serving other people, and we just want to let you know that we're ready to place our order. Just like we said, we're not thinking racism or anything like that. So then she goes, you know what? I'm not serving you people. You need to get your stuff now and go. I'm calling the police. And then she snatches the menus out of our hands.
It was just unexpected. It's just something that we weren't ready for. I surely wasn't ready. We went in there, wanting to place orders just like any other place. You go to, you walk into, you walk into a place to place an order, and we were just blindsided by it.
Well, someone called 911. The assumption was the waitress who sent the other waitress to kick them out of the restaurant for nothing. That was the assumption. Well, the 911 call betrays that assumption. Here's who actually called 911.
Well, obviously, everyone is under the impression that the waitress called 911. That is not the case. We have the 911 recording. Here it is.
Hey, Kara, I was hoping to have an officer dispatched to our restaurant. We have a couple guests who are unruly and are refusing to leave.
Okay, what's the address?
5201 North Granite Lane in Sioux Falls.
Okay, is that Denny's?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the phone number you're calling from? Okay. Are they being violent or have any weapons on them?
Not to my knowledge. So I'm the regional manager. I'm actually getting ready to head in there. I'm about 20 minutes out. But the team called me and they said they just very confrontational and argumentative and refused to leave the building and just harassing the team and kind of following them around the restaurant.
Okay. Do you know what they look like or how many of them there are?
Just two guys, African American guys. That's all I really know.
Okay. What is your name?
At the moment, one was what was that? I'm sorry.
What's your name?
Mike Fletcher.
Okay. And they're both still inside the restaurant?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Well, how that's your stop out. Just give a call back if anything changes.
Will do. All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Yeah, Mr. Fletcher was not on the scene. Mr. Fletcher relayed information that seems contrary to facts. Mr. Fletcher is a regional manager, as he described himself, but it was his employee, the waitress, who alleged an offense. The employee was not simply an employee, but she was also the wife of husband, regional manager Fletcher. See how that works? 911 call comes from him. Denny's, in their press release, they proclaim they have done an investigation. They fired the waitress who was involved. They look to move forward, but they did not disclose anything about the regional manager. They did not disclose anything about the relationship or the nature of the 911 call. I believe they tried to slip one in. Now, here's what Ricky Smiley said. Ricky, thoughts here?
Brother Derek, man, is a good bro. He's also a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. He's my frat brother. We often meet every time we have our conclave. I absolutely love him. He represents not only the NAACP, but Mississippi very well. I've been a member of the NAACP since I gave my life to Christ back in the day. When you joined the church, you joined the NAACP and the SCLC, and I'm a lifetime member. And we thank God as Black folks for the NAACP and organizations like the SCLC and the Urban League for taking a stand, because there are some people, Dr. Richard, that just can't fight back. Yep. You get put in a situation like that, and then these people came and weaponized the police department and have two Black men that work hard, make an honest pay, have them step outside. Anything could have happened when they stepped outside. We know what happens especially when you're getting up in North Dakota, South Dakota, where you are outnumbered. There's not a whole lot of Black folks that live in that area. Stuff like that can be really dangerous. It could have caused them their lives.
Yeah, it could have cost them their lives. When you call the police, you're calling guns to remedy the situation. You never forget that. Man, big ups to the local NAACP and the national NAACP for stepping up. I'm a member of the NAACP myself. Gerald Rose, founder of National New Order Human Rights Organization. Let's put up a picture of Mr. Rose. As of yesterday, his organization, in a recent statement, they have called for the nationwide boycott of the restaurant chain because of inaction as relates to these incidents. With firm resolve, Mr. Rose declared, quote, "We must stay out of Denny's across the country because that's their image." In the face of discrimination and injustice, Mr. Gerald Rose and the New Order National Human Rights Organization stand firm in their commitment to justice and equality. The hashtag Boycott Denny's movement serves as a reminder of the collective power of consumers to demand change and hold corporations accountable for their actions. Here's what Gerald Rose said on Odyssey.
First of all, I wasn't surprised. We know Denny's has been having issues for years. And I'm thinking that if we can just stay consistent, and when we do this boycott, we must stay out Denny's across this country, because that's their image. Like I said, I'm not surprised, because Denny's, about 3 or 4 years ago, the same situation happened. So right now, we need to take a stand. We should not eat and patronize our money in Denny's. We shouldn't just patronize them no more. We should just, support other businesses that really care about our money. So obviously, Denny's don't care about our money at this point.
Gerald Rose, he does the work. He travels across the entire country, stands up for families that have been victimized by entities adversarial to progress and freedom. So we stand, obviously, with those who are saying hashtag boycott Denny's. We stand with the truckers. We stand with the advocacy organizations. And we stand with these two fine gentlemen who simply wanted to get something to eat. All right, Jordan, you know the story. You see the highlights still today in action from Denny's. We see nothing on record that they've done to try to remedy this, even though they talked a big game during the press release. What say you?
Yeah, I think doing anything more would be effectively an admission of guilt. I don't think they want to do that, but it's a shame that this is something that's still happening. He mentioned this just happened a couple of years ago, but not just at Denny's, it happens all over the place. You see, and this show does a great job covering those stories where people are discriminated against, kicked out of establishments simply for being black. So it's unfortunate someone had to endure that yet again. We're not going to get rid of this until everybody works together to eliminate racism in the society. And if it happens in your establishment, in your corporation, in one of your branches, it's on you to do something about it, but they don't want to do it because they don't want to open themselves up, I assume, to a civil rights lawsuit.
Well, that civil rights lawsuit is probably well on the way, I would assume, given the attorneys that are connected to the case. And I also imagine that at some point, the question of why was the regional manager allowed to basically not take the fall, protected for what he had done, which was be the person that generated the 911 call. All right, we'll bring you updates as they come. An Ohio police, they shoot a 15-year-old over a toy gun. Here we go again. Here it is.
Where are you coming from? Can I see your hands real quick? Oh, hey, it's fake. It's shots fake. Fired. Shots fired. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake.
Put up the picture full mass. Per multiple outlets, newly released body cam videos shows the moment's 15-year-old Tavian Kuntz Williams was shot while holding a fake toy gun by Akron, Ohio police. The cop who did the shooting, we actually do have his name on record, Officer Ryan Westlake. April 1st is the incident date. It occurred within seconds of stopping the teen at Westlake. 9-year Department veteran responded to a 911 call. Reports state the teen's injuries are not considered life-threatening because the teen was shot in the wrist. That's not because the officer tried to do that. The officer just missed killing him. Okay, so understand this 15-year-old could be dead. So he does not have these are not life-threatening injuries, but they are injuries nonetheless, psychological and physical. The officer has been placed on paid administrative leave as state officials conduct an investigation. So the footage shows Tavion repeatedly screaming, "It's fake," over and over and over again. His voice is cracking as he begins to cry while complying with Westlake's commands to get on the ground. Investigators confirmed the gun was fake. The teen was returning home from his cousin's funeral, walking the area near his grandmother's home when he was approached by Officer Westlake. The incident began at 7:04 p.m., April 1st, when a woman walking her dog called 911 to report seeing a man pointing a gun at houses in East Akron. She said he was holding the gun sideways, as though he were going to shoot into homes, according to the 911 call audio that was released by the city. In the released footage, Westlake finds Tavion at 7:11 p.m., parks alongside the teen. Westlake asked to see Tavion's hands. "Where are you coming from? Can I see your hands real quick?" Westlake asked before drawing his gun while getting out of his car and firing one round 3.5 seconds later. Responding officers decided to put a tourniquet on Tavion's arm because it was injured. And the young man had done nothing illegal. In his statement, the teen's attorney said Tavion was shot on the side of his wrist, suggesting that his hands were actually up at the moment he was in fact shot. Attorney Okolo has vowed to seek justice for Tavion. Okolo said in the statement, Tavion is a high school student, now grappling with the trauma of being profiled and having his life flash before his eyes after being shot. Okolo maintained Tavion did nothing wrong, noting Ohio is an open carry state. noting that Ohio is an open carry state. He also stated Black boys deserve to grow up and live without the threat of walking home and being shot by the police. He said something, once again, that sometimes gets brushed under the rug. It is an open carry state, which means even if a person is walking with an open weapon that's visible to you and me, that in its own context is not supposed to be illegal. All right? This happened to not be a gun at all. There's more. The mayor, Shamas Malik, on the left, who is just shy of his 100th day in office, released the footage and Westlake's personnel file promising transparency, which is the reason we have the cops' information as the investigation continues. The file contains multiple complaints, multiple disciplinary actions, along with use of force incidents, including one deemed unreasonable. The city police chief, Brian Harding, is on the right. The department would not comment further beyond confirming that the gun was fake, and they will not say anything more because of the open investigation. The local Fraternal Order of Police chapter released a statement Tuesday saying Westlake, quote, acted within policy and procedure and according to his training. This is a throwaway line. They utilize this all the time. The personnel file shows the police union previously represented Westlake and won him back his job after he pulled his firearm on his girlfriend. This happened in January 2021. The police union, courtesy of the police union. The union added, it knows people may have, quote, concerns about Westlake's personnel file, but that, quote, does not change the fact that this use of force on April 1st, 2024 was objectively reasonable. Well, that's interesting, Mr. Union Chief, because it doesn't have to be objectively reasonable for your cop to be protected. It simply needs to be subjectively reasonable to the police officer. But it's ironic you utilize the word objective as if anybody in that same situation would react the same way. Is typically what that means. But it's the subjective standard that typically gets them their de facto immunity. Westlake's history, let's talk about it, because to me it is important. May 13th, 2021, report listed 2 incidents that got Westlake in trouble. He used foul language and a homophobic slur showing his bigotry during a March 2021 interaction. And there was an incident in January 2021 in which Westlake admitted he was drunk and he decided to pull his gun out and point his firearm toward his girlfriend. The police chief recommended that Westlake be suspended. Westlake and his union representation appealed the recommendation. The man pulled out his gun illegally, menacing, okay? He's drunk. He's in possession of a firearm and intoxicated. He gets suspended. Representation appealed the recommendation for suspension, but documents show the former mayor fired Westlake on July 20th, 2021. The next day, the city agreed to a deal with the union that Westlake be reinstated and serve a 71-day suspension without pay for his violations, according to the agreement document in his personnel file. Wow, there's more. For some in Ohio, the shooting brought to mind the 2014 killing of 12-year-old Tamir Rice, who was shot by Cleveland police while holding a pellet gun. Rice's mother, Samaria Rice, told the Plain Dealer in Cleveland on Tuesday that Westlake didn't have to shoot Tavion. Quote, this is ridiculous. We have to fight back against the policies and procedures of policing. Thank God he did not kill the young man. That's right. Thank God, because if it was up to the cop, the kid would be dead. Here we go again. All right. So this is when they do that, they piss on your head and tell you that it's raining routine. Jordan, thoughts?
Yeah, when I first heard about this story, my mind immediately went to Tamir Rice. It was There's so many similarities from somebody calling the police, describing a young black boy in the same way you would describe a man. And Tamir's case, it was that he saw it was as a man. But he, at least in that one, he said, I think that the gun is fake. It's probably fake. And here we have the same instance, a child just playing with a toy. I mean, you want the proliferation of guns. It's an open carry state, but a black child playing with the toy that replicates this consumer product that everyone loves here in America. That's the problem. And you see the way racial bias affects people's understanding and interpretation of these situations. Immediately he gets out of the car and shoots this child. Thankfully, he's still alive. But they say it's 3.5 seconds. It felt like an instant. How do you make an appropriate assessment of the situation in that short of a time? And the FOP statement is so ridiculous. Oh, he acted in protocols. Your protocol is to ask, let me see your hands and then shoot somebody? If that's the protocol, the entire system needs to be eradicated. I would argue that's a good idea, but that just shows, like you're saying, the FOP trotting out that line is absolutely absurd. They are only in business to protect bad cops. It's a union that operates like a bunch of thugs, and they should never be compared to any other workers' union.
That's right. Very well said. I agree completely. Updates will come. We will bring them. All right. Well, it has happened. OJ is deceased. Put up the picture full mass. So this is an interesting zigzag. OJ Simpson, the former football player and noted great football player, accused and ultimately acquitted of the brutal 1994 slaying of his ex-wife and her friend, has died according to his family. He was 76 years of age. If you remember, he also was arrested and prosecuted for basically engaging in a sting operation, according to him, to steal products that belong to him, according to his narrative. Simpson's family, they posted his official X account saying on April 10th, our father, Orenthal James Simpson, succumbed to his battle with cancer. We did know through some other reports that he was battling cancer. He was surrounded by his children and grandchildren. During this time of transition, his family asked that you please respect their wishes for privacy and grace. The Simpson family. In May 2023, Simpson posted a video on X, now known as Twitter, revealing that he had recently, quote, caught cancer and, quote, had to do the whole chemo thing. He added, quote, it looks like I beat it, end quote. Simpson did not specify the nature of the cancer. In February 2024, a Las Vegas television station reported that Simpson, then 76, was again undergoing treatment for an unspecified cancer. Simpson himself posted a video on X that same day denying rumors that he was in hospice care, though he did not otherwise confirm or deny reports that he was ill. 2 days later, in another video update on X, Simpson thanked those people who he said reached out to him, adding, quote, my health is good. I mean, obviously I'm dealing with some issues, but I think I'm about over it, end quote. Remember, he was nicknamed the Juice. He broke records as a college professional football player and extended his celebrity and fortune to being a sportscaster, movie and television actor, and as a corporate spokesperson, most notably for Hertz rental cars. All that changed June 12th, 1994, when Simpson's ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend Ron Goldman were brutally stabbed to death outside of the former's home in the Los Angeles neighborhood of Brentwood. Within days, police announced their intention to arrest the former football star for murders. 5 days after the killing, 95 million Americans, damn near 100 million people, watched as Simpson's white Ford Bronco with longtime friend Al Cowlings at the wheel and Simpson in the back seat with a handgun, threatening to kill himself, led police on a 60-mile low-speed televised chase through Los Angeles that lasted some 2 hours. Simpson ultimately surrendered to police and stood trial for the murders. In October 1995, after 11 months from jury selection to verdict, Simpson was acquitted in a trial that was televised daily and became an international sensation. 12 years later, Simpson was arrested September 2007 after he led a group of men into a Las Vegas hotel casino to steal at gunpoint what he claims was his own sports memorabilia. Simpson was charged with a number of felony counts, including kidnapping and armed robbery. The following year, he was found guilty, sentenced to 33 years in prison. Simpson was released on parole in 2017. O.J. Simpson is survived by 4 children, Arnell and Jason from his first marriage, Sydney and Justin from his marriage to Nicole Brown Simpson. Now, I've been on record clearly as to my stance on OJ, and I know a lot of people disagree. I believe OJ either did it or he knows who did it. I don't believe for a second that OJ was somehow just an innocent individual. I do believe that there were elements of racism inside of the investigation. Do not get me wrong. These things don't have to simply exist outside of each other. They can actually coexist in the same trial, unfortunately. But his family dynamics remained quite, well, unrevealed. No one really knew the extent of the relationship damage or forgiveness or lack thereof that was applied. All right, dear brother Jordan, hell of a story, man. I remember where I was at when this happened. I was in the 8th grade and I was at my Aunt Hattie and Uncle Melvin's house. And it was one of the most intriguing things in the world. This is back when Court TV was like barely known, but it got hot that day because Court TV stayed on that damn Bronco for hours. And it captivated the world. And what really happened, in my opinion, you got an opportunity to see what happens when a black man has money, that the criminal justice system is not as much ruled by white as it is ruled by green. It's something that I think a lot of people started to see. And you get the best defense your money can buy. Unfortunately, that should not be the standard in a constitutional dynamic, but it is a standard in a practical dynamic that if he didn't have that money, and if somebody like me or you were accused of those crimes with that evidence, we would be in prison today, period. All right, what say you?
Yeah, absolutely. A team of Johnny Cochran and Rob Kardashian. That's yeah. I don't know if you could assemble a duo better than that even today. But I also remember where I was. I was thinking back this morning because it was so young. I'm 37 or almost 37 now, so I was several years old at that point. But I still vividly remember that night sitting at a sports bar after a soccer game with my dad, watching that clip, being just mystified. And it's weirdly like my earliest memory, but it just shows like what a moment that was in our cultural zeitgeist. I'm with you. I think he did it. But if you have a good defense, you can get off. And then talking about the racism in the system, Mark Furman, one of the detectives that we know, like on the record, is a racist.
Yep.
Has a contract right now with Fox News. So one thing we can look forward to, I assume, is the racist LAPD detective going on Fox News tonight to talk about that case.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And here's the reality. If you're one of the people that say, okay, listen, OJ did it, that means you need to say, we got to say no to racist cops. Because Furman was a big pivot point for the defense to be able to hang the message to the jury that this was not an appropriate investigation, which many agreed with. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one.
Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
Indisputable is still the fastest growing news show in America compared to CNN, Fox News, and 30 other networks. We tell the truth on Indisputable because the truth is indisputable. We go places that other news media outlets refuse to go. When there were human rights abuses happening at the Victorville prison, guards and members of the community contacted us.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
It really doesn't take much to be a trusted voice. All it takes is to be fearless, report on matters, be an advocate. I called it the bullpen intentionally because it's a place of preparation. We present individuals who may have an opposing view, so we debate. Sometimes we interview individuals because their stories deserve to be heard. A survivor of significant police misconduct and his attorney. We covered this story earlier and to remind you of the horror of one man being shot at damn near 100 times by the police. We take time on this show to showcase the temper tantrums of Karens in the wild. We do this not because we want to see people's emotional outbursts in public, but because these incidents are emblematic of a bigger societal issue taking place across the nation, and it has to be checked.
My friend, my big homie, attorney at law, Benjamin Crump.
I just want to thank you, man. Educated, articulate brothers like yourself speak truth to power. It makes a great difference in changing the landscape in America. So
listen, no matter what you do, don't allow the politics of ideology to evaporate the soul that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reform, so I won't stop. You won't stop either. All right, welcome back. A lot of show left. Okay. Let me read some of these amazing comments. All right. Yep. V says, you mean to tell me that Denny's hasn't learned anything since 1993? Black people, please don't give Denny's any more of your money. And I would say black people and allies, right? Because at this point, if they're not willing to make right something that's on video, the whole thing's on video. The 911 call is on the record. All right. These individuals, their lives have been turned upside down. To hear them talk about it during the interview we did a while ago breaks your heart. To realize how everything changed for them because of mistreatment by other people and the corporation not yet doing anything about it. It's insane. Mo Fury. Denny's, where greasy racism is always on special. Catch that Grand Slam diarrhea. That creative dragon. Yeah, I was in the 5th grade when this was going on with
OJ, my teacher brought her TV to school so we could watch the trial. You too? You too? Literally, my teacher, I don't know how she got it, but you remember those TVs, they used to be able to roll on the, some of y'all may not be old enough to understand that. All right, so they had TVs that rolled on a cart inside of public school systems. And she rolled the television in for us to watch the trial, and then naturally everybody watched the verdict at school. So my school was the only one. Dominic Stallworth, this is Tamir Rice all over again. Glad he's still alive. That's right. Lady F&T, thank you for that. Absolutely, Doc. I believe he did it, but there was most definitely a racist element in the trial, and defense witnesses firmly for sure. Yeah, and that's what tanked the case for the prosecution. That's why having racist police officers does not pay, does not help your community. Thank you, James Thompson, for the 5 indisputable memberships. Greatly appreciate you. Yeah. So Jackal Dragon 1991. Kids can't even play outside. I mean, seriously, think about this summer times about to come. And usually when summertime comes, people play with water guns. Are you telling me that these people came to go outside to be kids, or can't go outside to be kids, rather cops, I think, rolling up to get ready to shoot? All right, lighten the mood a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Look at him. Oh, you playing the latest Lil Wayne while you're about to go murder a baby? What you bumping in there, man? This is a house of death. And you soft, cuz. You soft. I'll get hood with it. Hey, you hood dudes ain't hard. Y'all baby killers too. Hey, you hood dudes ain't tough. Y'all baby killers too. I don't see nan one of y'all. Look at the traffic jam of murder. Yeah, you come on down here, big man. Come on out here and deal with me. Baby, don't do it. Don't do it. Save that black child. Bruh, how you doing this? Man, come on. Y'all act so tough in them rap music. You soft. Soft as baby poop. Soft behind. I'm so sick of these hood dudes coming out here like they're so tough.
Put up the picture full mask. Let me give this male Karen a proper education. You see, male Karen, first of all, you're responding to a symptom and not the disease. You see, when you survey women who have actually exercised their medical right to abort a fetus, over 90% of those who agree to do the survey and give the answers have noted it is because of an economic factor. If it is because of an economic factor, that means that what they are experiencing is not a personal failure, but a policy failure. So if you want to actually resolve the issue, how about you scream at your congressman? How about you yell at the US senator that represents your state? Perhaps the governor, maybe even the president, but to shout at women who are exercising a medically protected, should be protected across the board, a medically protected right in a particular state, you are simply trying to make someone irritated, upset, and feel even worse. And so I want to take this opportunity, sir, to ask you to reason with yourself and the community around you, rather than attempting to shame individuals because of your extremely draconian and simple-minded ass approach. Mel Karen, you can do better. All right, Jordan, thoughts here.
So the way he was talking reminded me a lot of a youth pastor, just the stereotypical youth pastor energy, trying to be cool, but just being racist.
Yeah.
And I did some Googling and I looked up, and this guy is an aspiring pastor. He's an aspiring like social media influencer / pastor where he does videos and live streams about daily devotionals. And it's like, it's unfortunate that these people are like almost pulled out of central casting. They're just so easy to identify because they try to be hip and be cool and just are ultimately racist.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, especially when there's young people who maybe do just go to church and do go to youth group out of a purity in their heart and wanting to better themselves. And it's people like this who are put in places to guide and influence them. And I tentatively help enrich them spiritually. I don't think this guy does much enrichment, but God, it was just really, really cringy to watch this video.
Yeah, it really was. And let's put them up again one more time. I have 2 additional points that I hope the male Karen decides to research. Number 1, in the Old Testament, because I assume you derive your spiritual discipline and your stance politically from the Bible. If a woman is physically harmed by a man and the fetus is aborted in the Old Testament, the man who did it does not get arrested for murder. Because according to scripture, that's not murder. It is a civil penalty, however, but not murder. Secondly, the reality of this as a policy expression cannot be dismissed. But I want to remind you, brother, we live in a state or a country where the flag is more important than the land. They will literally come at your neck if you burn an American flag, which is a symbol, but allow you to destroy the land every single day through environmental disorder, etc. So they care more about the symbol of the land than the land itself. That's the kind of politics we have fallen for in this nation. Just a reminder. All right. Well, an ISU student goes on a racist rant about Beyonce's country music. Here it is.
I'm sorry, but if you're black, you're not country. I don't care. And I wish I meant that in the nicest way. But babe, I know you were raised in the country, or your grandparents were, I guess, your great granny and grandpas, but they was picking, okay? They wasn't planting. Just keep that in mind. They wasn't making money. They was getting sold for money. You ain't country.
Let's put up the picture full mass. Now, I don't condone racist people, but if you just have to be racist, be a racist like this one. At least we know she is in fact racist, clearly racist. You see this racist coming a mile away. Nursing student at Indiana State University has caused outrage among her fellow students and outrage online for a racist comment toward Beyonce. I mean, you do understand the beehive and everything, right, madam? All right, her comments were seemingly in response to Beyonce's record-breaking country album. We predicted it, easiest prediction in the world, by the way. Cowboy Carter, the highly anticipated project, was released last month and included features from Dolly Parton, Willie Nelson, Miley Cyrus, Post Malone. Additionally, the megastar highlighted Black artists, Brittany Spencer, Willie Jones, and many others. The woman was exposed as a nursing student at the Terre Haute-based university, where the student population is mostly obviously white. People also called out how dangerous it would be if she entered the medical field with white supremacist views, which obviously was front and center in the discussion and debate, pointing out how racism in a public place creates a health crisis in a hospital, etc. Demonstrations erupted on campus this week, calling on the school to take action, shouting, quote, "Hate has no place here," and, quote, "Silence is violence." Protesters made a list of demands for university officials, including that they condemn the video and that the student face consequences. Indiana State University President Dr. Deborah J. Curtis issued the following statement. She posted, Indiana State University community. We want to provide further emphasis on the commitment, of Indiana State University to promote a supportive environment for all of our students. Upon learning that a racist video from an Indiana State University student was posted online, we immediately worked with the Vice President of Student Affairs to identify the student, communicate directly with the student leaders, and strategize how to prioritize student well-being and safety. Racism, hate speech, and discrimination of any kind is deplorable and in direct contradiction of Indiana State's mission, vision, and values. The students' comments in the video in no way represent the ideals and goals of Indiana State University. We are appalled by the sentiments expressed in the video and condemn those comments in the strongest terms. This video impacts the entire campus community, but it deeply affects students from marginalized groups. Make no mistake, we hear you, we see you, we support you. We have been and will continue to work for you. End quote. That was a relatively thoughtful answer. But inside of the rubble of the answer, you don't find the answer. What are you doing to the student? Because that's why the campus is protesting. They want exacting and public reprisal here, period. And I think they deserve it. And the whole notion of somebody like this going into the medical profession when already we have the stats to prove the bias that exists that lead to the deaths of individuals permeates in that industry. All right, Jordan, hell of a thing, thoughts?
Yeah, look, the history and origins of country music are diverse, but a lot of it was created and inspired by Black musicians going back centuries. The idea that Beyoncé, who comes from the South, and that's obviously where the genre really grew and originated. The idea that Beyoncé, one of the most talented performers alive, who comes from the South, is a wide-ranging ability, can't do a country album, flies in the face of the spirit of that genre. It is so many different people, so many different groups, so many people of different backgrounds have contributed to country music in this country and throughout its history. You should celebrate it when people who traditionally are not country artists make a country album. And obviously, the living country legends have no problem with it. That's the thing. It's like you see Willie Nelson and Dolly Parton on that album, and you still think you have a firm foot to stand on. And my final point is, there are plenty of people, interests, entities that I'm willing to take on, willing to fight. I've fought with the president, the past president of the United States. I fought with the US military. I will never fight with Beyoncé fans. Whatever they say, sure, I go for it. I don't care. You win.
The Beehive, dear brother, they never forget to settle a score. So the other thing is, I love the fact that this was born out of the racism Beyoncé faced at the Country Music Awards. And that became the energy that allows for this kind of project to be before us today. So very proud of the moment that she's having right now. And naturally, we judge music based on musicality, right? Based on your ability to deliver. Did she deliver? Well, according to the sales, hell yeah, she delivered. She delivered a great album. In the urban hip hop community, we have allowance for people like Eminem. Did he deliver? Does he deliver musically in the genre? Yes, he is respected as an MC. We let Machine Gun Kelly in. That was a mistake. But we allowed him to come in temporarily, see what he can do, see what he got. All right, we judged it based on the musicality. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
Our audience has given us everything, so we couldn't be more connected. When we first started, people would start giving us directions and say, okay, the mics are too large, move them. Turn them into lav mics. I mean, they were incredible. And then one guy walked in and gave us a really expensive switcher and said, you guys need this, and walked out. Okay, it's amazing. They helped us build a studio. They did a $2 million funding campaign for us. And so they really are us. We do this show together to the point where some of our hosts are even former listeners. So when we say that the audience is part of TYT, we really mean it.
I think what the audience also appreciates is especially if they're members, they really get an inside look into who we are, our personal lives, what drives and motivates us. It goes beyond just storytelling. I think that what we do is allow our viewers and our listeners into our daily lives, and we give them kind of like this inside look into everything that we're passionate about and why it is that we're doing what we're doing, right? Like the motivation behind what we're doing, I think is important for our audience to know, and we're not shy about sharing that with them. And it's different from what people typically see in legacy media outlets where everything is kind of dry and robotic and there's really no personality or authenticity that comes along with it. Oftentimes when we're doing the show, I don't really think of it as me telling them stories. I think of it as us having a mutual respect and conversation with one another. And as I said earlier, I mean, not only do I feel that through the work I do, I'm informing our audience, but they inform me oftentimes as well. You know, they'll pitch stories to us. They'll tell us, you know, a certain perspective or angle to a story that we might have missed. And I love it.
How in the world are you going to get the right to vote if you don't already have the right to vote? That's impossible. Reason they tell you things are impossible is because they don't want you to try. It only took 7 years for that to get an amendment to get a right to vote.
Does this result in millions upon millions of Americans losing their coverage? And we've been waiting to find out, and now we know, yes, it will cut millions.
Public education was supposed to be the way to equalize everyone regardless of their socioeconomic status. But if you come from a family that's poor, how are you going to afford grade school for your kids?
This fight is about fairness and morality. It's about the American values.
You think that black people all across the country, in every city, were all lying when they said the police abuse us and the police kill us when they should? No, of course they weren't lying. Yes, it does happen. Yes, they do get targeted more.
Why are we going to put immigrants in prison for 5 years, which American taxpayers have to pay for, if we're so concerned with immigrants using up our so-called resources?
We're gonna do both. We're gonna fight Trump and we're gonna fight the establishment. It's not that hard. Yes, you can do both at the same time. Go tell them.
Tell me about the shirt you're wearing.
Pretty much speaks for itself. What's the penalty for treason? Death. Everything was phenomenal under Donald Trump, and now it's Obama calling the shots right now. It ain't Biden.
So it's Obama calling the shots?
I believe so. None of this would be happening if they hadn't stolen the 2020 election from Trump and we the people.
If you could have an option of 4 years of Donald Trump as a dictator or 4 years of Joe Biden as a president, what would you choose?
Donald Trump.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of comments. I'll read as many as I can. Okay. Yep, Tucker Paulson. That's great, man. All right, man. First is Waffle House, then is Cracker Barrel. Now, Denny's, why has the right wing decided to declare war on breakfast? You're right, man. It's slim pickings. Like we barely got IHOP left. Barely. All right. X-Dog, the security dragon. What? Was that a Trump Bible he was holding? Talking about the mail carrying. Oh, man, this man sells Bibles, man. All right, next TYT reporter. Don't you have something better to do, mail carrying, like eating crayons or something? Yeah. The creative dragon says, I'm sorry, but it's always racist. You're right. That is the prerequisite. I'm sorry, but I'm not racist, but yeah, you're right. And C. Michael Henson, thank you, C. Michael. Music was a gift to man, created by the Most High. That means all music is for everyone. If country singers can do hip hop, then R&B singers can do country music. No one owns one genre. And if you want to get real deep into the science, it's not even music. It's not singing. What I'm doing isn't talking. It's called manipulation of vibrational waves. We are able to do that with our voices, right? So this is all just an expression, all of it. Expression of a vibration. It creates sound. John Hearn, thank you. Welcome to Indisputable. And yep. Winston 121-880, kick her out of nursing school. She can always finish her education at Trump University with Kyle Rittenhouse. There you go. All right. Lara Trump makes this RNC robocall, pushes bogus 2020 elections. Letitia James in New York just won a case because of campaign strategists doing the same thing. All right. Here's the robocall.
Hello, I'm Stephanie calling for the Republican National Committee co-chair Lara Trump and the election security staff at the Republican National Committee on a recorded line. This is very important and I won't take up a lot of your time. But first, we want to thank you for your generous past support. And I'm sure you agree with co-chair Trump that we cannot allow the chaos and questions of the 2020 election to ever happen again. We all know the problems: no photo IDs, unsecured ballot drop boxes, mass mailing of ballots, and voter rolls chock full of deceased people and non-citizens are just a few examples of the massive fraud that took place. And it's pretty clear that the radical Democrat bureaucrats and politicians will do whatever it takes to ensure their fellow Democrats get elected. We cannot let this happen. If Democrats have their way, your vote could be canceled out by someone who isn't even an American citizen. Patriots like you, the people who actually pull the wagon in this country, deserve nothing less than free and fair election. That's what separates our great nation from a third world dictatorship.
Oh, okay. Put up the picture full man. So the RNC did this on behalf of Lara Trump. Per CNN, the Republican National Committee last week sent out a scripted robocall to voters to their phones on behalf of the new co-chair, Lara Trump, saying Democrats committed, quote, massive fraud in the 2020 election. It's the latest example of how the RNC under the former president's Jordan law is perpetuating lies about the 2020 election. As recently as February 2024, Lara Trump said she did not believe Biden received 81 million votes in the 2020 election. Now, naturally, she has to say that it's the prerequisite to have the job she has, all right? But is it not ironic that while they say Democrats orchestrated this whole thing, you know, Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, Chief Elections Officer in Georgia, who told Trump, hey, Mr. Trump, here's the problem. Mr. President, your numbers are wrong. He's an elected Republican. The governor, Brian Kemp of Georgia, who also said the election was riddled with integrity, no issues of election interference. Once again, an elected Republican, and the list goes on. The claim of massive fraud in 2020, in the 2020 election, marks a significant shift in the messaging for the RNC. Now, I want you to pay attention because this is the part they master. The RNC has now pivoted to what? Massive fraud, okay? That is their pivot in messaging. So these are lies about the 2020 election. Had not been a consistent theme in its messaging since Donald Trump left office. Remember, the RNC did not push this narrative until Trump took it over. But the call's message is largely consistent with the views publicly espoused over the past 4 years by Lara Trump, who was elected as co-chair in early March as part of Donald Trump's takeover of the GOP proper. Lara Trump has a long history of echoing his election fraud claims, according to a CNN K-file analysis of her past statements as a commentator and surrogate for the former president. Quote, I'm sure you agree with co-chair Trump that we cannot allow the chaos and questions of the 2020 election to ever happen again, said the call, which was obtained by CNN's K-file from the anti-robocall application Nomorobo, which is estimated 145,000 calls were sent with the message from April 1st through the 7th. It comes amid previous CNN reporting about the RNC asking employees who are reapplying for their jobs whether they believe the 2020 election was stolen in an apparent litmus test for hiring. The RNC denied any such litmus test existed. It's just so insane. Lara Trump and new chair Michael Whatley seceded, Drew McKissick and Ronald McDaniel, who had earned basically backlash from former President Trump because of the way the messaging was handled about fraud in the 2020 election. It looks like since Trump has taken it over, they got their messaging all congruent now. So everybody's lying. There is no evidence of widespread voter fraud in the 2020 election, as even some state GOP elected or election officials and former Trump Attorney General William Barr have acknowledged. The former president and his supporters filed more than 60 court cases in 60 key battleground states following the election and lost every one of them, even in front of judges Trump had appointed. And they have still not brought forth any evidence of the rampant cheating they continue to talk about on the campaign trail, not an iota of it. But in the years since the 2020 election, Lara Trump has continued to push claims of voter fraud. Her comments have been in line with those of her father-in-law, who successfully reshaped the GOP in his image and easily secured his third straight GOP nomination this year. Polling, for example, shows that a majority of GOP voters think the 2020 election result was illegitimate. A CNN poll released last September found that 71% of Republicans said President Biden, quote, did not legitimately win enough votes to win the presidency, end quote. What does this say? It says that narrative trumps fact. I'm not making a pun about it, but that's what's happening. So the story, the narrative is successfully landing in many of these spaces. Why? Because they are attacking the messengers rather than the message itself. And so if it's delivered by a Democrat, oh, that's a Democrat. If it's delivered by somebody in the media, which by the way, damn near 80% of this stuff is delivered by some level of media, it's just the corrupt media. And then if they can't tag one or the other, they would just say you are a never Trumper. See how that works? So everything is an attack on the messenger while never addressing the message itself. Okay, Jordan, thoughts here.
Yeah, this is a family and now a political party who have built their brand around election denialism, around fraud, around corruption. And that's what they're making an argument going into 2024 as they continue to cry about alleged somewhere election fraud by individual voters. No, they tried to interfere in Georgia. He's still in court over his election interference there. They're raising money to pay off his legal bills through the GOP and through the party apparatus because of the trouble he's gotten in for this big lie. It's just it's really confusing to me. Like no one around them is telling him, hey, this isn't a cost-effective strategy. We're losing money by doing this. For every dollar we raise, we're not getting the full impact of that dollar for our campaign this year because it's going to legal bills on this lie. There's nobody around him, and that's what he's done. He's built the party, he's built a campaign with his family and sycophants, people who will just agree with him because the whole party revolves around this cult of personality. So it's funny, it's shameful, but also at the same time, as bad as it is, you kind of want it to go on because they're just burning money because they can't stop lying. They can't just accept and move on that they lost in 2020. Okay, you're running again now in 2024. They can't get over that one impediment in Trump's personal life. They have to continue doubling and doubling and doubling down on this lie, even when it costs them money.
All for the sake of not bruising the ego of one human being on this planet. And you're right, they are draining money to defend a lie. But in addition to that, they're now taking money away from Republicans running for Congress, Republicans running for governor, because the RNC has provided support to those entities in the past. That is no more. All right, Jenifer Lewis, comedian extraordinaire, actress extraordinaire, remarkable human being, said Trump will put black people in camps. Here it is.
Dear God, what have we done? Oh, I'll tell you what we've done. We've spent time trying to decide what flavor ice cream we're gonna get. Because there are 10,000 flavors.
Right.
We spend half our lives choosing, trying to make a choice on what movie tonight. Let me sit here for a half hour. No bombs going off. And we do nothing. We sit on our couches. Oh, I don't believe in voting. You idiot. If that man gets in, as soon as he takes the oath, he will have generals walk down the steps of the Capitol. He will take a hammer and break the glass where the Constitution is, and he will tear it up in our faces.
There's more video, but some people are outraged by her comments. Jenifer Lewis, what do you mean that's extreme? It's extreme. He's already done it. He has not physically broken through the glass, ripped up the Constitution, but he has done it in action, ideology, threat. There's more.
And say, now, I'm the king of the world. You will bow down, bitches. He will punish everybody that didn't vote for him. Let me tell y'all how I know this. I know it because I know what mental illness looks like. That mania is unstoppable. See, this is Hitler. He didn't come to play.
If you can accept it, her words are prophetic. Put up the picture full mass. Let me give you the breakdown. The upcoming presidential election has everyone voicing an opinion, including beloved actress Jenifer Lewis. I had the great opportunity to meet her in DC a few years ago. Beautiful soul, inside and out. She warned Americans that not voting could result in Donald Trump being reelected. The Blackish Star also compared the twice impeached ex-president to the former dictator of Germany, Adolf Hitler, who, by the way, Donald Trump has a lot of good feelings about. During an interview on the Sirius XM radio show, Mornings with Zerlina, this was on April 5th, big ups to Zerlina. I happen to work at Sirius XM myself. Hitler was responsible for the deaths of at least 6 million Jewish people throughout Europe at concentration camps built for genocide. Lewis believes Trump would put black people in camps if he won the 2024 election. Trump was impeached for asking Ukraine President Zelensky in 2019 to investigate Joe Biden and his son, Hunter, in an effort to hinder Biden's chances in the 2020 election. He got away with it. He got impeached, but he got away with it. Trump used $400 million in aid to the country as leverage with his request. He was impeached a second time after inciting the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol that resulted in the deaths of 5 people. However, both times the Senate, feckless leadership, found him not guilty. Lewis advised voters that sitting home while doing nothing instead of getting out to vote would result in Trump being reelected. We do nothing. We sit on our couches. Oh, I don't believe in voting. You effing idiot, said the 67-year-old mother of Black Hollywood. If that man gets reelected, as soon as he takes the oath, he will have generals walk down the steps of the Capitol, she added. Okay? Now, I don't see anything outside of definitely probable, if not absolutely will happen as it relates to what she's saying. Now, will he physically take a hammer and break the Constitution? I don't know, perhaps, but that's not even the issue. The fact he won't respect the Constitution is the issue. He never has respected it. If he gets elected and gets power again, he has wind behind his back, because this time he is running a separatist campaign. This time he's truly running a campaign of division. He doesn't want democracy, he wants kingship. His people are saying that. They are echoing the same sentiment. What do you think happens when he eliminates the separations that typically would hold him accountable to another powerful entity? He has no accountability at all. Imagine that. Donald Trump with no accountability. You think he doesn't go after the DAs who are prosecuting him now? You think he just lets it go? All right, Jordan, thoughts here.
So I think if we're being generous, she was very creatively describing what you're talking about, right? That Trump will disregard the Constitution. He will act as an authoritarian. I think that's a fair criticism. I think it's a fair assumption. He's said so himself. He'll be a dictator on day one. Michael Shore of TYT went to a rally, I believe in Iowa, to talk to Trump supporters, and they explicitly said, if given the choice between 4 years of Biden and dictator Trump, all of them said they would choose dictator Trump. They don't really care about checks and balances or preserving democracy. They want their guy, and they don't matter. It doesn't matter to them what it looks like. But they've talked about these same sorts of people and the people who are pushing Project 2025. This is Heritage Foundation, big right-wing influence groups. They're talking about just completely gutting the federal workforce, the bureaucracy, anybody who is there because of a sense of duty to the federal government and civil service. They want to gut it, fill it with Trump loyalists, fill it with GOP loyalists, and completely rewrite the rules. This would pave the way for a corporate state. And some of them are even arguing we should do away with term limits. Let Trump stay in as long as he wants. Who cares? On the Constitution point, he can't go down and smash it because Nicolas Cage stole it in National Treasure. So a quick fact check there. And I think it's shameful she made that error.
Well said. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Do all of you know the Young Turks?
An outlet like yourself that are willing to cover this story from the very beginning.
You have the Young Turks and a bunch of other progressive forces saying this is the time to fight for our values.
And I think right now there are a lot of progressive voters, many leftists who feel like they don't have a home.
And this is why what Cenk and the Young Turks are doing is so important.
What we've done is sustainable, slow, healthy growth. And I think that's the way news should be, where you don't rely on sensationalist stuff. You don't lean on whatever's trendy in the news at any given moment. You just go with the truth.
You gave me a platform.
You've uplifted so many other progressive voices through this network, and you're constantly looking for people that you can amplify through the work we do, through the infrastructure that you built at TYT.
It takes those early people who believe that can really be the seeds of this movement, and that has been the Young Turks.
We're super serious about the news. We also managed to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We're not TYT, you're TYT.
You are the media revolution. You are much needed.
TYT, TYT.
The place is like 95% TYT on.
getting that message out.
Cenk and the Young Turks do an extraordinarily good job.
No matter what mainstream media says, you have to listen to the Young Turks.
People who support us on the internet, that's what gives us strength. That's what allows anyone who was in there who was undecided to think one side seems to be winning. They seem to have a bigger army. There might be a reason for that. So thank you guys.
All right, welcome back. A lot of comments. I will read as many as I can. Winter Scoop says, as a crayon-eating Marine veteran, I resent the comment saying the racist pastor is a fellow crayon eater. I'm an ice eater. I don't eat crayons, but I understand the sentiment. And that's below the belt. That creative dragon said, is Lara Trump going to release a new song soon? Ask no one. That's right. Talking about Jenifer Lewis, snack_Panther, no lies detected. And Phil, thank you for that, Phil. Wow, amen, Jenifer Lewis. Those were some truly powerful words. Great work, Doc. She's a remarkable soul. I mean, she's authentic. She is that intense in real life. She does not need a microphone. That is who she is. That is how she is, all right? Okay, this is an update to a story we first brought you. Now a lawsuit has been filed by a former employee of the Atlanta Police Department. According to the filing, the department engaged in, let's just say, action unbecoming. Let me remind you of the initial story. Here it is.
Ms. Rhonda Frost, you were the Assistant Deputy Director of the Public Affairs Division for the Atlanta Police Department. And your daughter, who is not only a law student, but also a very outspoken advocate, activist, broadcaster, she makes a video. Well, she makes videos because it's part of what she does. She's outspoken. She speaks up for people. She wants to be an advocate. That's why she's in law school. She makes a video about what that set things off.
She made a video about the Shaka Zulu incident that happened last summer and the charges that APD took against him.
Okay, and Ms. Hall, let me ask you, give us the nature of your video. Why was that video so controversial according to the police?
Well, the police were under the impression that nobody else had access to the video, I'm assuming. And that when they put out their charges of murder, that it wasn't gonna be challenged until it got to court or until the DA decided to indict or not. However, I also have contacts and I didn't understand how somebody could be shot in the back and no one else be charged with anything except for Shaka Zulu, which made me start my investigation process. And then when I saw the video, I was mind-boggled. I was like blown. I was like, hold on, how is it humanly possible that someone came to, or 5 men actually came to his place of business, accosted him, stopped him on his way back into his place of business, and proceeded to jump him, stomp him into the ground. And then when he got to his feet, after being pushed in the back one more time by the person that originally punched him in the head, they said, he's the only person that charged with anything. I mean, those men not only beat him to the ground, but beat a female to the ground, punched her in the face multiple times. She had to go to the hospital and has had fractures to her face and other things that I was able to pull on a different police report. And in my mind, I thought, how could APD get it this wrong? So that's what started it all.
Yeah, APD got it very wrong. Not only was Shaka Zulu involved in a very serious matter that required self-defense, he engaged in self-defense. He was charged for murder by the APD. Everybody's scratching their heads because we rallied around Shaka Zulu when this happened. Many people know Shaka Zulu from his days with Ludacris and others. But Shaka Zulu was well respected as a businessman and an entrepreneur inside of the industry of music and beyond. So all of a sudden these murder charges come. Now, by the way, because of her investigation, or at least partly because of her investigation, his charges were completely dropped. Okay, so understand she's right on the sentiment. So now the Atlanta Police Department, according to the narrative, because it's the daughter of someone who works for them, they retaliate against the employee because the daughter did a proper investigation and made them look bad. That is the allegation. Here it is.
So the day that Shanae's video came out, I was sitting at my desk at the Atlanta Police Department in the public affairs office, and there was a barrage of media inquiries that came in at that time, and many of them were saying, "Can you validate this link to this video, regarding Shaka Zulu?" And as soon as I clicked on it, it went straight to Shanae's Instagram page. So obviously, as the deputy director of public affairs, clicking on such a high profile thing and knowing that that's my daughter, it was a little awkward, if I could use that word, or probably highly uncomfortable. But I just knew that, once Shanae got involved, she was gonna do what Shanae does. And that's fight for justice. And so I was between a rock and a hard place.
In the report, it literally said Rhonda's daughter made APD look bad. It was damaging to our reputation, to our image. It made them look incompetent. And so you can't go after me. So I thought, maybe they thought if they go after my mom, I'll stop talking. As you see, that's not how that went.
My work environment changed pretty dramatically from that day forward. And then it just got really difficult come November, which is when I filed a complaint and said it's a hostile work environment. And I asked the assistant chief for help, like, can we have a meeting? Because this is really getting bad in here. And the next thing you know, I'm locked out of the building and now have lost my job. So that's how dramatically things unfolded for me. And yes, in the investigative report, it looks to me very clearly that they tried to pin that on me. They did an investigation on me. I didn't know anything about it. And they couldn't find anything because I didn't do anything wrong. And my daughter has tons of sources. She doesn't need me to get information.
That's correct. She's a remarkable journalist and ally in the community. Very proud of her continued success. She's going to make an amazing attorney. So let's put up the picture full mass. Lawsuit has been filed. Rhonda Frost, the former deputy director of public affairs with the Atlanta Police Department, has finally filed a lawsuit over her termination from the department. Frost is suing Mayor Andre Dickens, Chief of Police Darren Sherbaum, and COO Peter Amon, and several other individuals from the department for lost wages, punitive damages, and emotional distress. And according to the documents provided initially in the report, they literally have conversations that obviously seem quite inappropriate. Why are we even considering talking about the daughter of an employee who has the right to do exactly what she's doing? And if you care about justice, you would champion, you would applaud an exacting investigation that gets to the bottom of something, rather than be upset about it. All right, Jordan, thoughts here?
Just the idea that a parent would face professional consequences for something their child does or says, or an opinion that they have, is just lost on me. I don't care if it is this person is in law enforcement and the kid disagrees with the actions of law enforcement. That just, there should be a firewall there. It just feels very weird and retaliatory. So yeah, I said go sue him for all you got. I think wrongful termination is definitely like part of it, but it also feels like there's racial animus. And at a time when they're framing it as workforce reduction, you got all this money to build Cop City. You got this cop playground you're building in Atlanta. You're deforesting part of this giant park outside of the city. You got all the money for that, but one person, you gotta let go one person that just happens to have a daughter that's outspoken about one case. It just seems very targeted.
Yeah, very much so. We will bring updates as they come. All right, former Speaker McCarthy once again echoes there's a member of Congress who slept with a minor. Okay, put it up full mass. This was interesting. Former Speaker Kevin McCarthy, Republican out of Cali, said at an event Tuesday that he is no longer the leader of the House because one person in Congress wanted to avoid an ethics complaint about sexual misconduct. Speaking at an event at Georgetown University, McCarthy linked his historic ousting as Speaker to the allegations against Representative Matt Gaetz. There's video. Here it is.
So was it this? You made a lot of concessions in the negotiations.
No, I didn't. Okay.
Okay. Is that
Let's get to the bottom of that.
Right?
That is such a misnomer in life. Let me give you the truth about that now. And I'll give you the truth why I'm not Speaker. It's because one person, a member of Congress, wanted me to stop an ethics complaint because he slept with a 17-year-old. An ethics complaint that started before I ever became Speaker, and that's illegal, and I'm not going to get in the middle. Did he do it or not? I don't know. But ethics is looking at it. There's other people in jail because of it. And he wanted me to influence it.
That part. Put up the picture full mass. Now, I want to remind everybody, don't give McCarthy a hero cookie yet, because he was perfectly fine with this child assaulter as long as the person he believes did in fact do this deed supported him. Okay, so just remember that. Last October, Gaetz introduced a motion to vacate McCarthy. Number one, that was in the negotiation. They could literally file a motion at any time to get rid of the Speaker, which was wild, but that was part of the original agreement to get him in, resulting in the historic ousting and multiple weeks of chaos that left the lower chamber without leadership. The Florida lawmaker has long been an opponent of McCarthy, refusing to back his speakership bid in January 2023. Gaetz is under investigation by the House Ethics Committee over allegations that he engaged in sexual misconduct and did drugs. The Department of Justice declined to prosecute Gaetz on the sex trafficking allegations last February. But as McCarthy said, yes, other people have been prosecuted because of the alleged crime that Gaetz was connected to. There it is. Once again, Gaetz, at a time, was on the committee funding and providing oversight for the same entity investigating him. Welcome to American politics. Jordan, thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's funny that McCarthy's just laying it all out there. This is exactly what's happening. Just throwing the dirt out there because he doesn't have any reason to protect Gaetz anymore, doesn't have to play nice. But one thing also in that interview I thought was really funny. He's talking about that motion to vacate that Gaetz filed. And he mentioned it to Pelosi, and Pelosi was like, oh, it's fine. This is his description. Pelosi told him it's fine. Well, we got your back 100%. I told Boehner when it happened to him. I told so-and-so when it happened to him. It's fine. So McCarthy then just says, okay, yeah, all right, we'll have a vote. And then loses, and Democrats withheld and just abstained from the vote, letting him lose his job. And I thought it was a really fun. You could see like the wheels turning in his head. It's like, oh, she cooked me here. Like, it's a really funny moment in that interview.
That's old school politics, man.
Yeah,
he should have knew better. All right, he's dealing with a real old school political figure here. All right, so that part, dear brother, always a pleasure having you on the program. Tell people how they can follow you and check out your great work.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here. Had a ton of fun. You can follow me on Twitter at Jordan Uhl, and my podcast is The Insurgents, available on every major podcast platform.
Thank you, my friend. All right, remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.